Hello everyone, I'm Bruffy1322 and welcome to the second round of Season 2 of the GTA Online Multi-Class Endurance Championship. This round takes place on the Los Santos Grand Prix circuit and we'll be using compact cars, with GT1 drivers in Pantos, GT2 drivers in Prairies, and GT3 drivers in Dilettantes. So, since in the previous episode I introduced all of the teams and the drivers, I figured we'd just get straight into the race this time. So here we are on Los Santos Grand Prix on the starting grid, and everybody's mixed up at this point. But we're going to be doing the same thing as what we did last time, where we have Shaggy aka G-Unit, who is going to be our pace car leading us around this first formation lap, and also getting some good spectator shots throughout the race, which you'll see. So yeah, he's leading us around at this moment, and everybody's basically getting into their starting positions. The starting positions do change every round, but I will explain a bit more about that later on in the video, which I did mean to do last time. But yeah, all of the GT1 cars get to the front, then all of the GT2 cars, then all of the GT3 cars, and everybody gets into their individual starting positions within their class. Then once Shaggy is happy that we're all happy, we have a standing start at this point, so we all line up. Once Shaggy is happy that we're all in the right place, then we start the race. So here's the start of the race. Obviously from Shaggy's perspective, I'm in the top left. I actually started on pole position for this race. So there's all the GT1 cars going past, there's myself and then the rest of the GT2 pack. And then we've got the GT3 cars in the Dilettantes all coming through the shot there. So this first lap and the first sort of few laps of the race really are quite hectic, because the Pantos don't get off all that well in terms of sort of having a big gap to the GT2 cars. As you can see, one of them made a mistake there, and me in the Prairie, I was on pole position for the GT2 class, so I was pretty much battling with all of these GT1 cars. Now that's not necessarily something that I really want to be doing. I'd prefer if they were all just gone completely and I could run with clean air, but I had to do it. I had to mix it in with the Pantos, with the GT1 cars, just to make as much of a gap as I could to the chasing GT2 pack. So here we've got the battle pretty much for the front of the GT1 field. The leader is just ahead, but this is for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th in GT1. Now this is where a bit of action happens. If you focus on Nismo in the yellow Panto there, he has a bit of an incident coming down this straight. I don't think it was really anyone's fault, he just moved over to overtake and somebody was there. So there he goes, flying over to the left. Just keep that in mind because that will become more important later on. But Nismo's basically had an incident there and he's gone off the track. So I'm up into 6th position at this point, which is reasonably good considering I'm in a Prairie. And my teammate is actually leading at the front, so all of my team actually started in first place, and there you go, there's all of us flying past that corner from an outside perspective. So at this point, I'm still battling with these Pantos, and really I don't want to be. I'd rather they all just got away, but the pace difference between the GT1s and the GT2s isn't all that great at the moment on this track. Yes, the very best GT1 cars will be able to pull away from the best GT2 cars, but the pace difference isn't so great that the back end of the class can get away. And the reason for that is what you'll see basically on this straight. So the Pantos have great acceleration, but as you can see here, I'm able to close up because the Prairie has a better top speed. The Pantos top speed is pretty horrible, and I'm closing up right here. Now I'm in a bit of a bind at this point because I don't really want to be overtaking this Panto, but I've done that corner a lot better. I've obviously got the higher speed advantage on the straights, and he goes a little bit wide there. So, I have to make these positions up. Really, I'd rather not be battling with these Pantos because, in essence, it's losing me time. But if I can stay ahead of them, then I'll be, putting more cars between myself and the chasing GT2 pack, which is really kind of what I want to do. So at this point it's not going too badly. I'm able to make a bit of a gap to the chasing pack of GT2 cars because I was able to start on pole and get a reasonably good lap. I've overtaken quite a few Pantos, but Nismo at this point comes back past me. So Nismo's the guy that I mentioned who spun off in the first corner. He's actually a reserve driver for this round, in place of Hizen on the Vapid Pegassi team. But there he goes, you know, he's just overtaken me. So he's kind of on a little bit of a comeback at this point after the incident that he had at this point on the first lap. So there we go, you know, that's pretty much the hectic part of the first part of the race over with a little bit. I'm still aiming to keep in front of these Pantos that are behind me. I am aware that there are a few Pantos behind me, and just behind them are also the other GT2 pack. So at this point we'll have a bit of a take stock of what the order is. That's my teammate going through in first place for the GT1 cars. Then we've got Chris and May Ryan going through in second and third, with Craig following close behind, and then Nismo going past, who just passed me. Then you've got myself with a Panto chasing after me, and then Doodle and Zenzi in the other GT2 cars, as you saw there. So Doodle and Zenzi are basically the guys who had the big battle in the first race behind me, and they are battling again at this point in this race as well. The rest of the GT2 field go past, and then we've got 40, I believe, is in the lead of the GT3 field, with, there you go, with Thel46 in second, my teammate Tyler Durden in third, and then the rest of the pack coming through there. So that's the running order at the moment. You know, those are the positions that we have at the moment. As you can see, just in the top left, the Panto there tried to overtake me around the outside, but wasn't able to do it. And then by the time we get to the next lap, those are the top three in GT1, all very, very close together, with Craig and Nismo sort of following on there. So as you can see, a very close battle at the very front of the GT1 field there. I come through with this Panto still behind me, and then you've got Zenzi there as well. So Doodle must have had an incident on that lap, because he's dropped a little bit further back, going through the picture now there. So at this point, I'm still in the lead of GT2, but Zenzi is catching me, and that's his perspective in the top left. Now this Panto makes a run on me going up this straight. He actually gets a better run out and gets a better speed along this straight, so he overtakes me. Now I'm happy with that. But all I want him to do really at this point is just drive away from me, which he doesn't do. You know, that corner he didn't do as well as I did, so I actually slowed down to give him the space, because I just wanted him to get out of my way. But then he ends up going a little bit wide on that corner, which allows me to get back up through him. And at this point I realise that Zenzi is right behind me, who is second in GT2. So at this point, you know, I can't afford to let that Panto get back past me. As it happens, he doesn't end up making a mistake, if you just see in the top left, and Zenzi is able to get through there. So at this point now, I'm in the lead of GT2, and directly behind me I've got second place in GT2, which is Zenzi, who's in the top left. So it was really just that, you know, I did have a reasonable gap. I was being caught, but I had a reasonable gap there to Zenzi. But getting mixed up with that GT1 car kind of slowed me down and put me back into Zenzi's grasp here. Now, I knew going into this race that I didn't really have the pace. I would say that Los Santos Grand Prix is probably my weakest circuit. I just couldn't really get the hang of the Prairie in a racing situation, you know. I didn't have the ultimate lap time that some of the other guys in my class had with the Prairie. Now, as you can see, I'll just point out, those are the three leaders in the GT1 class again, all still battling. That's VXWK, my teammate, Craig, Chris, and May Ryan. So yeah, those are the top five as well, with Craig and Nismo going through. So the top five in GT1 are scampering away. Then you've got myself and Zenzi coming through the picture here. And then you've got three other GT1 cars, which all have a bit of an incident here, as you can see. And that allows Doodle, who is third in my class, third in GT2, to get past them. Now that means that if you look on the left here, as I'm going through, I can see that Doodle has managed to get clear those Pantos, which means that he has clear space between Zenzi and himself. So, you know, at this point I've noticed that on the left. I noticed that when I was going through, and I needed to use that to my advantage. I knew that I didn't really have the pace, so what I wanted to do was defend until Doodle caught us up. So at this point, obviously, also 40 going through for the lead in GT3, with Thel46 chasing him down. My teammate Tyler in third, and then Alucard is in 4th as well, coming through here, and you've got the rest of the chasing GT3 pack. So that's the order at the moment. But going back to my race, you know, I knew that I didn't have the pace. I knew that once Zenzi had caught me up, which he has done here, I was going to have to defend. I wasn't as consistent as I could be with the Prairie, and I didn't have the ultimate pace as well. So I was into defense mode at this point. You know, I knew that I was going to have to defend. There were a little incident here which Zenzi just knocks me around and obviously lets me get the position back again. But that kind of signifies that, you know, it's game on now. I do have to get into this defensive mode, and I really do have to make sure that Zenzi can't get past me. And what I'm hoping for, my plan at the moment, as I'm going round, you know, you have to be thinking about what your plan is for the whole race, what you're doing at each moment. I'm thinking about that as I'm going round here. I'm obviously trying to defend at the same time and race as quickly as I can. But my plan at the moment is basically to try and hold up Zenzi as long as possible, so that Doodle, who is in 3rd place in GT2, who has now, as I mentioned earlier, cleared those Pantos and should be able to start catching us up. I want to hold up Zenzi until Doodle gets to us, until Doodle makes up the time towards us. And then my plan at that point would hopefully be that Doodle and Zenzi start battling with each other. That gives me a little bit of space to start getting away myself, and then take it from there. So that's the plan that I have at the moment, now that Zenzi has caught me up. And all I'm trying to do is defend to keep my position, to keep the lead in GT2. And if you ever want to have an idea of what you need to do to defend a position, the next sort of 10 minutes is going to show you exactly what you need to be doing. So the lead has changed now in GT1. Mayor Ryan has got ahead of my teammate VXWK95, and he's in 2nd, and Nismo has managed to get ahead as well. So Nismo is in 3rd place. So he's made a good recovery from that initial problem that he had, and he's just going through the picture now. So the top 3 in GT1 are all really close together. At this point, Chris had also disconnected, which was a shame. So as you can see, you know, Zenzi gets a bit of a run on me here as we flash past there. I managed to keep the position by sort of diving to the inside and making sure he can't shut the door on me. And then, you know, the outside shot again coming round here. So that's how close it is, you know, that's how close we are. He's pretty much on my tail all the way through. And obviously you can see his perspective in the top left as well. This is a really, really good battle, you know. I know that I don't have the pace. I know that I'm not going to be quite as quick as him, or even Doodle, or, you know, some other guys. I'm having to defend. I'm having to make sure that I don't let him get past me. And this is just how I'm doing that. I'm blocking off the inside corners. You know, I'm making sure that if he is going to get past me, he has to do it the long way around, and that is just not going to work. So I'm doing everything that I need to do at this point to keep Zenzi behind me, in the hope that Doodle is going to catch up. And as you'll see from some of the outside shots that we get, that Shaggy gets throughout the race, he does start to catch up. Doodle does start to make a bit of a catch-up job on us. You know, he is putting in better lap times than we are, obviously, because on the one hand I'm just not as quick, because I just don't have the pace, as I mentioned, but also we're battling with each other. So I'm not even running at the maximum pace that I could, because I'm having to have take a compromised line into some of these corners just so Zenzi won't be able to get past me. You know, it's not the quickest way around the track, but it does keep your position, and that's basically what I'm doing at the moment. But because of that, both of us are going much slower, and that is allowing Doodle to catch up, and that's exactly what I'm wanting at this point. That's exactly what I need. So yeah, the leaders changed in GT1, as I mentioned. You know, that was switched around. Chris, who was also in that battle, unfortunately disconnected, which was a shame. I'm not sure when it was, but it was some point in that last lap. And yeah, now Mayor Ryan is in the lead, and Nismo has caught up to the top 2, which is quite good. So also in GT3, the battle is pretty much consistent there. You know, 40 is still in the lead with Thou second, so that stays pretty much consistent for a while. But as you can see now, you know, as I'm defending from Zenzi here on the inside, this is Doodle's perspective in the top left, and he really has caught up to us now. As you can see, you know, we're only just ahead of where he is. Now I've got the footage from Dodo and from Zenzi, and I'll be switching between those at the most interesting moments, just to give you guys a more rounded view of this battle, because it has been, for the first part of this race, it's been a battle between just myself and Zenzi. Now it's about to become a three-way battle between Zenzi, myself and Dodo, all going for the lead of GT2. So this is about to hot up very, very nicely indeed, you know, and this was the first sort of 10-20 minutes of the race. This is some sort of, you know, this is some real serious business. As you can see, you know, there's the outside shot again. I'll be mixing between these, and there's Dodo going past as well, so we're very, very, very close, and the two Pantos going through there as well, chasing us down in, I think, 5th and 6th positions. Again, I'm just defending the positions, you know, defending the inside lines, making sure Zenzi can't get past me, but that is, again, as I mentioned, slowing us both down. He gets a run on me here on the inside, but I'm able to carry the speed right around the outside, which allows me to keep the position, and it's just little things like that that are slowing both of us down, but are still allowing me to keep that first place. So, as I mentioned, I am going to be switching between some of the outside shots that Shaggy got, because he did get some really good ones, but I do want to focus on this battle as well, and I'll kind of go to those outside shots when there isn't any action, or when we are actually going past and featuring in those shots as well, because this battle for the first sort of third of the race, if you like, is a really good one, and it's probably the closest battle that's going on throughout the entire race in all of the classes. So it's worth having a bit of focus on, and we do have a lot of different perspectives on it as well. So throughout this lap, you know, again, I've managed to defend my heart out to keep this position, and Zenzi is starting to look behind him because Dodo really has caught up to us at this point. So my plan has worked up to this point. You know, this is exactly what I wanted. All I'm doing is defending. That's all I need to do, and making sure that I don't get overtaken. You know, I am in the lead. As long as I don't get overtaken, then I'm happy with that, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So at the moment, you know, there's Prairie going past, which followed very closely by Nismo at that point. So that's the battle for the GT1 lead that you just saw there. Nismo has managed to get in front of my teammate up into second after his initial problems, obviously on the first lap, and now he's actually got up to Ryan, who's in the lead of GT1, and is going for the lead of the class. So he's done a really good comeback at this point, and you know they're obviously battling, but we don't have the footage of that apart from seeing sort of the updates as they go past Shaggy. And then here is myself, Zenzi and Dodo, all in very close quarters, you know, all very close together, as you can see there, all battling for the lead of GT2, with the two Pantos following close by. So, you know, my plan is working at this point. Dodo has caught up to us because I've been holding up Zenzi. I haven't lost the position. I'm still in the lead of GT1, which is absolutely perfect. You know, I'm happy with that. And now really all I need is for Dodo to start having a go at Zenzi, to start trying to get that position, to start trying those overtakes on Zenzi to get up into second position. Now if he does that, my hope is that he'll slow both of them down. You know, when you are battling with people, you are going slower than what you normally would be, and hopefully that will allow me to eke out a little bit of a gap so that I'm not having to defend as much. As you can see, you know, the compromised line that I'm taking into these corners, yes, it allows me to keep that first position because it's not allowing Zenzi to get past, but it is forcing me to go a little bit slower than I normally would. Whereas if I know that Dodo and Zenzi are battling behind me and I have a little bit of a gap, I can start using those proper racing lines again and try to eke out a little bit of a gap as much as I possibly can, take a little bit of the pressure off, and you know, just generally give me a bit of breathing space so that I can go a little bit quicker. So the sun is starting to set in the race now for the first time. The sun obviously sets twice. This is technically a 48-hour race. You know, in GTA terms, it's a 48-hour race. It's actually 1.5 hours long in real life. The sun's starting to set. You know, things are starting to sort of settle into their usual order. You know, we're doing what we can. We're battling as hard as we can, and this is a fantastic shot, just showing the battle that we had. All three of us flying by there through the tunnel. That was a fantastic shot, and well done for Shaggy on catching that one. So yeah, you know, things are settling in really. You know, I've been defending now for 9 laps. That's all I've been doing, and I've been doing it reasonably successfully. And at this moment in time, I'm reasonably comfortable in doing that. You know, I'm reasonably comfortable in that I'm not going to be able to let Zenzi past. As you can see in the top left, Doodle has a bit of a go at Zenzi at this point because I'd compromised him in the previous corner, sorry. So that was exactly what I wanted. That's exactly what I needed. And now I have a little bit of a gap to Zenzi. It's not a lot, but it's the biggest gap that I've had since I started battling with him. And that's all because Doodle tried to overtake going into that previous corner, and that meant that Zenzi had to defend and he himself went slower. So I have a little bit of a gap to allow me to take the regular lines. Now if you look here, I actually look behind. Now that's the first time I've done that since I actually started this battle with Zenzi, and all it's showing me is that I lost a bit of concentration. As you can see right there, I crash. I hit the inside barrier, and that was all because I lost the concentration that I needed. Basically what happened there is I got that little bit of a gap that I mentioned. My plan had worked perfectly. Doodle had started to have a go at Zenzi. I got that little bit of a gap that I needed, and unfortunately that just made me lose a little bit of concentration. It made me have a false sense of security, if you like. You know, I felt that, okay, I've got a little bit of a gap, I can look behind. I had a look behind, which you should never ever do in a racing situation like that. I looked behind a little bit. I relaxed a tiny little bit because I knew that I had a bit more of a gap than I normally would have done, than I had for the past 5 or 6 laps, and I just lost concentration. I just relaxed a little bit too much, and that was it. Hit the inside barrier as you saw there, and that was it. You know, I lost the lead, not through being overtaken, but through making my own mistake, which is the most frustrating thing. Then I had a nightmare start to the next lap where I was hitting pedestrians, spinning as I went into the tunnel. A little bit of frustration coming out here, putting my horn on all the way through the tunnel, as you can see there. And yeah, it really was quite frustrating. You know, that was Shred Ninja going past as well. He will feature later on in the video, but he's in 4th place, just behind me there. And that's pretty much a consistent 4th place for GT2. So keep him in mind, that's all I'm saying. So let's take stock at the order as it is right now. Now coming past your screen right now is going to be Nismo and 40. That is the leader in GT3 and the leader in GT1 as well. So Nismo has managed to get ahead of Mayor Ryan, who's going past the screen just there, to start leading GT1 and do a pretty amazing comeback. And that's my teammate VXWK95 going round in 3rd. Then you've got Thel46, who went round there in 2nd place in GT3. Then you've got Tyler Durden, my teammate, who's in 3rd, and Alucard, who's in 4th. So you've got the top 3 in GT1 and the top 4 in GT3, all very close together, going through the tunnel in very close proximity. So at the moment, you know, this is pretty much the first instance where the GT1 cars have managed to catch up to the GT3 cars and are starting to overtake them and come around to lap them. At the moment then, after this, you've got Zenzi and Doodle coming through there. As you can see, you know, they're still battling at the lead of at the head of the GT2 class. And then you've got the 2 GT1 cars, and then myself, who I've just overtaken a GT3 car just there. So I'm still there or thereabouts with Zenzi and Doodle, but I know that I don't have the pace to really make an impression on them. Now, for some of these sort of cinematic shots, I am just going to leave out my footage, unless there is a moment where I'm sort of coming through the picture and it's good to sort of sync it up and see it from both different perspectives. But some of these cinematic shots, I do want to give you guys an idea of what it's like just with the cinematic shot as itself. So, you know, you've got cars coming out of the tunnel on the right, going past on the left. It's just, this track lends itself to that sort of thing, and Olympic Grand Prix in the next round is going to be a similar story. So the thing that I do need to talk about in this video, and this is probably the perfect chance to do it, is the way that the grid system works throughout the season. So what happens is that everybody starts in the one position once throughout the season. So everybody starts in 1st place at least in one race. Everybody starts in 2nd place in one race, 3rd place in one race. You know, it's all mixed up, but basically it's made to be as fair as possible. So once you've started in first place like I did in this race, I won't be starting in first place anymore. You know, that'll be it for the rest of the season. I started in 4th place in the previous race. I won't be starting in 4th anymore. You know, I've still got to start in 8th, 9th, 6th, 7th, you know, 5th, 2nd and 3rd, but I'm not going to be starting in 1st or 4th, and that's the same for everybody. It all depends on what, you know, your position in your class. So it all depends on the team that you're in as well. So everybody in the Ron Racing team, which is my team, started on pole position for this race. They all started on 4th place for the previous race. So, you know, that's how we've got it set up to make it as fair as possible. And then for the final round, so that's what's going to happen for the first 9 rounds, obviously, because there's 9 participants in every single class. But for the final round, the starting grid will be determined on your your championship position. So whoever's in the lead of the championship will start on pole position for the final round, which should make it really tense because all the top contenders in the championship will be at the very top. Shaggy just wanted me to leave that clip in there, by the way, just of Mayor Ryan, who was in 2nd of GT2 there, getting taken out by a pedestrian. It was quite a funny moment. But yeah, again, you know, I'll just leave this few cinematic shots here. The Zenzi's just gone past on the right there, Doodle as well, and then I'll be coming past very shortly. As you can see, it's all synced up, but you've got people going past on the left as well. So, you know, just some areas like this on Los Santos Grand Prix that really do show you a different perspective of the racing and people in different areas of the track at different times. So yeah, the starting grid, it's all as fair as possible. You know, we don't do any qualifying or anything like that. We basically just make sure that everybody starts in one position at least once throughout the season. So everybody starts in every position just the once, which makes it more fair, really. Everybody gets a chance at starting at the front. Everybody gets a chance at starting at the back. It just evens itself out throughout the course of the season, and then for the final round it should be a really, really tense affair because it will basically be on championship position at that point. So it is a better way to do it, really, rather than just having it completely random as well. And obviously, because we have the 3 separate classes, you know, all of the GT1 cars will always start at the front and all of the GT2 cars in the middle, just because that's the best way to do it to avoid any incidents and things like that. So this was just a funny moment that I wanted to leave in because obviously it's showing Shaggy sort of travelling around trying to get some decent places for a shot, and I'm coming round, there you go, there you see me just coming round there as well. So I just thought that was an interesting little bit of footage to leave in there as Shaggy's going around trying to find different areas for shots, and I happen to be passing him on an active racetrack at the same time. Now at this point in the race, this is where Dodo gets in front of Zenzi. So as you can see there, you know, Zenzi just gets caught out a little bit by the traffic, hits the inside barrier, and just makes a tiny little mistake, so that when Shaggy has got his position here on the next lap, that was Dodo going past in 1st place. There's Zenzi going past in 2nd, and then myself, I'm just going through the shot now. So we are all still close at this point, you know, but in reality, on this day, on this track, Dodo was the quickest. So now that he's in the lead, myself and Zenzi probably aren't going to be able to stay with him, and realistically I'm not going to be able to stay with either of them because I just don't have the pace today. I didn't have the practice that I really wanted, and as I mentioned, you know, I just don't feel comfortable with the car in this track. So I knew that going into it, and that's why I was trying to defend as much as I could. But now that I am behind in 3rd place, the likelihood of me being able to catch up to the guys ahead of me is pretty slim. And really, that's just something that sometimes you have to accept, you know. Every track isn't going to suit you, every car isn't going to suit you. Sometimes other people are just going to be quicker than you. So although I was able to be reasonably dominant in the first race, you know, I had the quickest lap time, I managed to get ahead and just stay ahead. In the next race, the 2nd race, which you're watching now, I haven't been able to do that, and that's just the ups and downs of a championship. You know, that's why championships are determined over multiple races. For example, this is going to be 10 races long, with the best 8 rounds counting in terms of points. That's why championships go over these races, because it's to do with how good somebody is over the course of an entire championship, how well they can do on the races that maybe they're not so good at, how much they can get out of the races that they are good at, and overall who is going to be the best at the end of a championship, not just any standard given race. That's the whole point of doing it like this. So it should be an interesting championship to see how it all ebbs and flows, not only in my own class, in the GT2 class, but also in the GT3 class and the GT1 class as well. So at the moment, the order is pretty much still the same. Nismo is still in the lead of the GT1 class, with Ryan in second and my teammate VXW K95 in third. Obviously Dodo and then Zenzi and myself in the GT2 class, and 40 is still leading the GT3 class. Now this is a great shot. I really like this shot that Shaggy managed to get just as cars are coming through this fast-paced left-hander, and I'll put up my perspective on this when I get to the corner myself. But the only person at the moment who looks like they're going to get a repeat win is 40 in the GT3 class. He has managed to pull away from the guys behind him, and he's doing really well at just getting away. So obviously from earlier we had Thel46 in second, my teammate Tyler Durden, who's just gone past there in third, but I think Alucard had got in front of him at that point as well, so my teammate was in fourth in the GT3 class. So 40 is doing a really good job in the GT3 class to get that win, and he looks like he's going to be our only repeat winner. Now, I also mentioned before that Nismo, who is currently leading the GT1 class, who had that incident at the start and has done a really good comeback to get into the lead, he was actually a reserve, so he was standing in for Hizen from the Vapid Pegassi team, and he would be our only reserve driver ever to get a win, if he manages to do it. Now it looks like he's going to, because he's got a commanding lead at the moment, but throughout all of Season 1 of doing this championship, and obviously the first 2 rounds here, we've never had a reserve driver come in and take a win in any one of the classes, so obviously that's a great job from him to have done that. I think he did practice with some of our guys whilst we were doing the practicing as well, so he was certainly on the pace, and that's him going through there in the yellow Panto. Now the guy who has just gone past in the red Prairie there is the 4th placed guy in GT2, so he's chasing me down for third. But as you saw there is still a reasonably large gap. I'm not really worried at this point about him catching me up. It turns out that he was reasonably quick, and certainly much quicker than me. He was actually the 2nd quickest guy after Dodo in this race based on best lap time. But as we're coming around here, I just get a little bit distracted from Nismo coming through on the left and make a mistake. So what happened there is basically, obviously I saw Nismo coming down the left hand side of the track there, and I knew he was the leader in GT1. I didn't want to hold him up, and I just lost concentration a little bit. This is something that I used to do a lot in the first season, when really I haven't done it as much this season, but it's still crept in this race especially, making a few mistakes, not really being with it. Just took my eye off the ball a little bit, looking at Nismo coming down, made a mistake, and that meant that Shred Ninja, who was in 4th place in GT2, who was chasing me down, has caught me up. And at this point it's when I realise it and I think, bollocks, I'm going to have to start defending again. So I'm basically, that was the first 10 laps of the race I had to defend from Denzi and Dodo. Now for the next 10 laps it looks like I'm going to have to defend from Shred Ninja as well. Now obviously, I'll show a few of the highlights at this point with Shred's perspective in the top left as well. It's pretty close, as you saw there, with traffic as well getting in the way at times. I'm again back into defensive mode. The race kind of went in a little bit of a lull for the middle portion of it. It gets to that point where everybody's kind of settled in their positions and not a lot happens throughout the middle of the race, sort of the middle 20 laps. But now it's heated back up, right? It's back again to having a bit more action, where I'm really having to defend. Now at the time, I think Shredded had a couple of incidents throughout the race, which is why he was in 4th position throughout pretty much the entire race. Now I was pretty much, consistently ahead of him and consistently behind Zenzi in second. So I was having a bit of a lonely race until I made that mistake, and that's when it all started to kick off. That's when he started to catch me up, and at the time I didn't know it, but as I mentioned earlier, he had the second best lap of the race out of all of the runners in GT2. So he was quick, he had that pace, and I had to defend. I had to make sure that he wasn't going to get past me. After everything that had happened in this race, that I would have been really, really, really frustrated if I'd lost third position, because it would have all been through my own mistakes. As you can see, I'm just doing my best to defend, to keep this third position, basically doing all the same thing that I was doing in the first 10 or so laps of the race when I was defending from Zenzi. So it's not as if I didn't have the practice. I knew exactly what I had to do, and I'd been doing it for a while before that, but I just had to go back into that defensive mode and do it again, and that was the problem. And it was all because of my own mistake, making that error when I took my eye off the ball, hit the tyre, and that's put me under this unnecessary pressure that I didn't really need to put myself under. So at this point, this is lap 34 of 40. There's obviously still 7 laps to go, and we're coming around to lap a GT2 car. Now obviously it's a lot harder to lap a GT2 car than it is a GT3 car, because they're in the same car as you. They've got the same speed as you. You can't just fly by them like you can when you're lapping a GT3 car. Now he makes a little mistake here going over the bump, which I managed to just avoid, but I think Shred just gets caught up with that a little bit, which allows me to get a little bit of a gap. And for me, that was great. That relieved all of the pressure. That was it, job done. I successfully defended for a couple of laps. Now I had a bit of a gap after an incident there, and that was it. I was happy with that. So I started to ease off a little bit and just completely not pay attention. But then a few laps later, at this point, I realise he's caught me up again. Damn it, I was running about 4 or 5 seconds, maybe not that many, but maybe 2 or 3 seconds per lap slower than what I should have been, just because I lost concentration. I thought the job was done. And as you can see here, as Shaggy's actually setting himself up for the finish, we almost both run him over. But that's how close it was between us. Coming on to, I think this is sort of the second last lap now. It was very, very close, because I just took my eye off the ball. I just thought the job was done. I'd got about a 7 or 8 second gap from that incident, and I just thought, well, that's it, job done. I don't need to do anything anymore. I'll just get it around to the finish. It's not many laps left, and then I'll be all done. But I'm thinking that, whereas Shred behind me is thinking, I can still catch up. I'm still pushing on for a place, and he's probably setting really, really quick lap times. For me, I'm not doing that. I'm setting lap times that are about 2 or 3 seconds per lap slower, because I've just completely lost concentration and lost interest, and I'm really tired at this point. It's the end of the race, and all I want to do is get to the finish and keep this podium. So as you can see, we are still very, very close. There was a little bit of a hit there. I'm back into defense mode that I've been in and out of this defense mode in the first half of the race and the second half of the race as well, in the closing stages. Again, I'm just trying to fight for everything that I've got to keep this third position and do my best to really keep it. Now at this moment right now, Nismo is coming through to win in GT1. You can see him there. He gets the win in GT1, so well done to him, our first reserve driver ever to get a victory. But I'm still battling for second position, for third position, sorry. I'm still trying to keep Shred behind me. Now my teammate is actually coming through in a GT1 car as well, so my teammate had managed to get past Mayor Ryan throughout the sort of third third of the race. The last half an hour, something had happened that had allowed him to catch up and get past Mayor Ryan. So my teammate is now in second place in GT1. So that was, we've had a really good showing for the team this round, but he basically gets past Shred behind me and basically gives me a little bit of leeway with doing that. He's coming through to the finish line at this point now, So we actually go past the finish line together, teammates, which is quite a nice shot there, as you can see. He finishes in second place for GT1, but I've still got another lap to go because he was coming around to lap me, obviously because he's in a faster class. But as you saw there, the gap to myself and Shred wasn't quite as big as what it was on the previous lap, so I was pretty confident at this point that I was able to get to the finish without letting him past, and even if he got up close to me, I would be able to defend for, you know, just another half of a lap. However, traffic is always the thing that you've got to be careful of. This is the one thing that could be problematic. So I get on the inside there of this GT3 car. It's the last bit of traffic that I have to pass, but then it was kind of a squeaky bum moment there where he was on the inside of me still. I was expecting that he wouldn't have been and I'd be able to outpace him down the straight. So that was a bit of a tense moment right there, you know. When I was doing it at the time, it was a oh shit kind of moment, you know, and I had to make sure that I didn't crash it, because that's a common place to crash, either into the tyres or into the wall of that building, you know. It was quite a tense moment getting past that bit of GT3 traffic on the final lap as well, when I've got Shred right behind me. I'm battling to keep my third position, my podium position in GT2, sorry. It was a tense moment, you know. That really was a tense moment, but once I'd got past him, once I'd managed to handle it, that was it, you know, and I was able to stroke it home to the finish, get to the line, and here we are finishing in third position. So it was pretty close between myself and Shred at the finish, as you can see there. Probably the closest between any two cars throughout the entire field, I think. But yeah, overall, I'm happy that I managed to keep that third place right at the end. Now this is a bit of an embarrassing moment for Shaggy, you know. He's basically, what he's doing is celebrating the finish line, you know, so putting explosions down as a celebration of people crossing the line to finish the race. But I think he had a brain fart or something that made him not realise that people were still actually racing in the GT3 class. So he actually blew up my teammate, who's just gone past the screen there. Obviously, as you saw, he didn't actually lose any positions for it, but I did say to someone in the stream that, you know, knock Shaggy over for doing that, and Subaru Wolf was only happy to oblige as he came over the finish line. So yeah, that was just a bit of a funny moment there that I thought to leave in. Shaggy basically blowing up my teammate who was in 4th place in GT3, but thankfully it didn't ruin any positions. So those are the positions in GT3. I've left them there just because the screen doesn't show it at the end. 40 managed to get a win again in the GT3 class, so he's a double winner from the first and the second rounds. Well done to him. With Thel46 in second and Alucard in third, with my teammate coming home in 4th. And then there we have the results for the rest of the field. Nismo got a great win for a reserve driver in GT1, with VXWK, my teammate, in second and Mayor Ryan in third. And then Doodle with a great result there, 5th overall and winner in GT2. Zenzi got the second place in GT2, and myself and Shred very close for 3rd and 4th. So that was pretty much it, you know. We've those were the results. We obviously did the customary podium photo at the end with the winners of each of the classes, and obviously they're doing their own little thing, and we've got a proper photo as well to finish it. So again, thanks a lot everyone for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be doing the same thing again next week. I live stream all of these races, so if you want to see all of the shenanigans beforehand, before the races as well, be sure to check out the live stream, because you only see them there. Every Sunday at 6 PM we'll be streaming these races. The next round will be on Olympic Grand Prix in SUVs, so it should be a really good one because there is a big gap between all 3 of the classes. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know all your comments down below. Wasn't the best round from me, but hopefully I'll bounce back in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching everyone. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.